The humming started on a Tuesday. It didn't stop for 11 days. I remember the exact day because I just moved in that morning. Ground floor unit, cheap rent. Too cheap, honestly. But after everything that had happened, I wasn't in a position to be picky. Fresh start. That's what I told myself. New place, new routine, no memories. The apartment itself was fine, not great, not terrible. Old building, slightly uneven floors, that faint smell of dust. But it had good locks, solid doors, and the neighborhood was quiet. That mattered to me. Silence felt safe. The first night I slept better than I had in weeks. No dreams, no interruptions, just darkness and stillness. The second night I heard it. 1:03 a.m. I know because I checked my phone the moment my eyes opened. At first I thought it was part of a dream, but then I stayed awake. And it stayed. A hum. Low. Constant. Thin, like it was being pushed through something narrow. It was coming from the vent above my bed. The sound wasn't loud. It wasn't aggressive. If anything, it was controlled, deliberate, like someone trying not to be heard. I sat up slowly. The room felt colder than it had a few minutes ago. I told myself the obvious explanation immediately. HVAC, old building, old ducts, air pressure, metal vibrations. I stood on my bed and leaned closer to the vent. The hum sharpened, it shifted, subtle changes, slight rises and falls, not random, structured, like breath, like someone humming softly to themselves. I froze there for a few seconds. Then I climbed down, turned onto my side and forced my eyes shut. Third night, 1 a.m. again. The hum returned. Same tone, same almost pattern, but this time it sounded closer. I turned my TV on that night. Low volume, just enough to fill the room. The hum disappeared under it. That felt like a solution. For 3 nights, everything was fine. I relaxed, started unpacking properly, even laughed at something on TV. That relief lasted exactly until night 7. I had a cold that day. I got into bed early. I just collapsed and slept. I woke up at 2:14 a.m. No reason, just awake. And the humming was there. Not distant, not faint. Right above me. The sound had changed. It was a pattern. Low, lower, low again. Pause, then repeat, like a lullaby. My fingers tightened around the bedsheet. Each repetition felt heavier than the last. And then, silence. And then I heard it. So faint I almost dismissed it instantly. A whisper, from the vent. Soft, close, right above my face. Shh. I didn't sleep for the rest of the night. The next morning I called the building manager, Mrs. D'Souza. Old HVAC system, she said flatly. The duct system in your unit is intake only. It pulls air from your unit. If the vent only pulled air out, then whatever I heard wasn't traveling through the system. It was coming from directly above the vent. I asked how big that space was. About 14 inches, she said. Not enough to stand, but enough to crawl. That night I moved my bed. I didn't turn the lights off. I wanted to see it. Halfway through, it shifted. The vent cover, just slightly. A tiny movement, a press from the other side. The humming didn't stop. It continued calm and steady. And in that moment something became clear. It knew I was there. I left the next day. I just left. Furniture, dishes, clothes, everything stayed. I took my phone, my wallet, and my keys. The police checked. They found disturbed insulation, compressed sections where something had moved repeatedly, directly above where my bed used to be. They never found who it was. The apartment was relisted 2 months later. Same price, still cheap, still quiet. But one thing hasn't changed. I can't sleep in silence. There's always something on. A fan, a TV, white noise. Sometimes just before I fall asleep, when the noise dips slightly as I hear it. Faint, low, slightly off-key. That same pattern, it sounds closer than that, like it's inside the room. Somewhere I haven't found yet, and then, right next to my ear. Shh. I lived in that apartment for 8 months before I realized no one lived next door. That's the part people get stuck on. 8 months, they ask. Yes, 8 months. because nothing about it felt wrong until it did. From the very first week, I could hear my neighbor. Not clearly, never voices, never anything distinct enough to form words, just presence, footsteps, soft, measured, crossing from one end of the apartment to the other, the faint thud of something being set down. Occasionally, late at night, the low murmur of what I assumed was a television, so muffled it blended into the walls themselves. The building itself was old but well kept, thick walls, narrow hallways, slightly uneven floors that creaked if you stepped too hard. So when I heard movement next door, I never thought twice. It meant I wasn't alone, and strangely, that was comforting. Downstairs, there were metal mailboxes lined along the wall. Unit 4A, mine, Unit 4B, next door. The label on 4B read, R. Verma. A name makes someone real. A name makes noise make sense. I never met R. Verma, never saw them in the hallway. Over time, I started to recognize patterns. Their footsteps, always slow, never rushed. Late nights, more active. Movement back and forth, sometimes for hours. Once I knocked on the wall, not hard, just a light tap, more curiosity than anything. The footsteps stopped immediately, completely. I almost expected a knockback, but none came. After a few seconds, the footsteps resumed. Same pace, same direction. Then in March, there was a fire. Nothing major. A kitchen fire on the second floor, but it triggered building protocol. A young woman knocked on my door. Clipboard, nervous energy. "Just confirming you're okay," she said. I nodded. She moved next door, Unit 4B. She knocked, 3 times. Firm. She waited. Nothing. I caught up with her near the stairs. "Hey," I said, "my neighbor might just be out." She looked at me, confused. "What neighbor?" 4B, I said. "R. Verma." She blinked, checked her clipboard again. "Unit 4B has been vacant for over a year." I laughed. Actually laughed. "That's not possible," I said. "I hear them all the time." She shook her head. "Previous tenant left suddenly. Lease was abandoned. It's been empty since." "What about the mailbox?" "Never updated." I stood there for a long time. Then I went back inside, closed my door, locked it, and listened. At first, nothing. Silence. Total, complete silence. Relief started to creep in. Maybe she's wrong, I thought. Then, footsteps from the other side of the wall. Slow, measured, crossing the apartment. I placed my hand against the wall. Flat, still. Cold plaster against my palm. The footsteps stopped. Exactly where I was standing. There was no sound, no movement, just presence. Close enough that if the wall wasn't there, we would be touching. Then it happened. 3 knocks, soft, evenly spaced, directly beneath my hand. Not random, not structural. A response. I called management. They sent someone up. Maintenance supervisor. Name was Prakash. Calm, practical, not easily shaken. He unlocked 4B. We stepped inside together. The air was stale, heavy, like it hadn't been disturbed in a long time. Dust coated everything, except the chair. A single wooden chair sat in the center of the living room, facing the wall. My wall. It was used, recently. You could see it in the dust, a faint outline where it had been before. Now it was closer, perfectly aligned. "Probably maintenance left it," Prakash said, but his voice didn't sound convinced. We checked everything. Closets, bathroom, kitchen. Nothing. The police came later. They said it was likely a squatter. Said they must have left. I moved out the next week. But before I left, I went to the wall one last time. I pressed my ear against it, held my breath, and listened. At first, nothing. Then, breathing. Slow, steady, close, not echoing, not distorted, direct, like it was right on the other side. Listening, the way I had listened, for months. And in that moment, something clicked. I had always assumed I was hearing my neighbor, but what if they had been hearing mine, learning it, mapping it, understanding when I was home, when I slept, when I was alone? The footsteps weren't random. They matched my movement sometimes, stopped when I stopped. resumed when I did, not living beside me, following me. As I left the building for the last time, suitcase in hand, I passed 4B. The door was closed, locked, sealed, and just before I reached the stairs, I heard it. From inside 4B, the slow scrape of wood against the floor, the chair, moving, closer, toward the wall, toward where I used to be. My own voice woke me up. Not a scream, not a noise, a sentence, mid-conversation. I heard it before I was fully conscious. That strange, blurred space between sleep and waking, where sounds feel like they belong to dreams. At first, I didn't question it. My brain was still heavy, still trying to place what I was hearing into something familiar. It's a memory, I thought, just a dream. But then I became aware of the tone, the pacing, the exact rhythm of the words, too precise, too clean. I opened my eyes. The voice didn't stop. It was coming from inside my apartment, talking. I stayed completely still, listening, trying to understand. And then the realization landed, slowly, heavily. It was me. My voice. Not similar, not close. Exactly mine. I knew the conversation. That's what made it worse. It was a phone call 3 days earlier, with my sister, a private conversation about hospital decisions, things you don't say lightly, things you definitely don't record. And yet, there it was, playing, word for word, at 3:02 a.m. I sat up slowly, turned on the bedside lamp. The light felt too bright. The sound was coming from the living room. Steady. I got out of bed, walked toward it, each step careful, measured, like noise mattered, like something might hear me. The closer I got, the clearer it became. My voice, my sister's voice, the slight echo of the parking garage, perfectly preserved. The source was obvious, a small Bluetooth speaker on the bookshelf. I stared at it, confused. I hadn't used that speaker in months. I walked over, reached behind it, pulled the plug. Silence. Instant. Total. The kind of silence that feels like something just stopped watching. I stood there holding the cable. My heart wasn't racing. It was something colder, something sharper, confusion with edges. I didn't go back to sleep. I checked my phone. No recordings, no saved files, nothing. I don't record calls, never have. Second explanation, hacked. For the next 2 days, I checked everything. Apps, permissions, background processes, storage, nothing. And yet, the recording existed. 3 nights passed. No incident. No sound. No explanation. I almost convinced myself it was a glitch. A rare technical accident. Then it happened again. 3:17 a.m. This time I woke instantly. The speaker was playing again. Different conversation. My voice. Laughing. I ran out of the bedroom. The speaker was on, plugged in. I stopped. Mid-step, I had unplugged it. I had put it in the closet. I turned slowly, looked toward the hallway. The closet door was open. I don't remember leaving it open. Someone had been inside my apartment. Not once. More than once. And I hadn't known. The fear changed. The next day, I searched everything, systematically, behind every appliance, under every piece of furniture. I moved the refrigerator, and I found it. A small device pressed into the narrow gap, a faint blinking light, so dim it disappeared in shadow. I picked it up. It was warm, recently active. I called the police. They came quickly. Voice-activated recorder, they said. The recordings hadn't just been collected. They had been played back to me. Someone wanted me to hear them, to know. I was there. I moved out. New apartment, new building, new locks. I checked everything. Behind appliances, inside vents. Nothing. I almost relaxed. Then I moved again. Different city. I checked everything again. And that's when I saw it. Behind the refrigerator. A scuff. Fresh. At 2:58 a.m., I heard something from the kitchen. A soft click, like a device turning on. I didn't move, didn't breathe. And then, very faintly, I heard it. My voice, not from the past, from just seconds ago, repeating, a whisper. What is that? The house came with a pull cord in the ceiling, the kind that drops an attic ladder. It hung in the center of the hallway, nothing unusual. The kind of thing you see in older houses all the time. But when the landlord handed me the keys, he looked at it. Just once. A quick glance, then back at me. Don't use that. I remember thinking it was an odd thing to say. Why? I asked. Storage, he said. Old stuff from previous tenants. I'll clear it out eventually, just leave it. His tone was final. I shrugged. Fine. And I meant it. I had no interest in climbing into a dusty attic full of someone else's junk. For 6 weeks I kept that promise. The first 2 weeks were quiet. The house felt normal, empty, but in a good way. Week 3 is when the sound started. Light scratching, faint, irregular animals, that was the obvious explanation. Week 4 changed that. The scratching became structured. It wasn't random anymore, it was rhythmic, measured, back and forth, like footsteps. But slower, heavier, something moving with intention, directly above my bedroom. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning I called the landlord. Probably animals, he said. I'll send someone. No one came, the pacing continued. And then in week 5, the second sound started. It was lower, slower, a dragging sound, like something being pulled across the floor. I stopped sleeping in the bedroom, moved to the couch, told myself it was temporary, just until the landlord sent someone. Week 6, night 1. I woke up at 3:03 a.m. The house was quiet, too quiet. Then I saw it, the pull cord. It was swaying, and then the attic hatch flexed, just once, a small downward shift, like something above it had pressed down, not an animal. Saturday came. He arrived mid-morning. No small talk, no smile. His eyes went straight to the pull cord. Show me, he said. He grabbed the handle. For a moment, he hesitated. Then he pulled. The ladder unfolded slowly. Wood creaking. He climbed up. I stood below, looking up into the dark opening. Then, silence. 4 minutes passed. Exactly 4. His face had changed. The color was wrong. There's nothing there, he said. His voice was steady. Just some boxes. That night I stood under the pull cord, thinking, listening, waiting. At 2:47 a.m., I pulled it. The attic was one room, low ceiling, dust everywhere, thick, undisturbed, except the floor. Everything stopped being normal. Long marks stretched across the attic. Drag marks, wide, heavy, overlapping, like something had moved along the same paths, again and again. And then I saw the corner. The dust there was compressed. It formed a shape, a human outline lying on its side, facing the hatch. I saw the hands, 5 marks, pressed into the dust, thin, long fingers, spread wide, reaching, toward the hatch, toward the pull cord. I left the house 2 days later, months later. I spoke to a neighbor. Did he tell you? She asked. The last tenant. A young man, 14 months before I moved in. He disappeared. No signs of struggle. Police found nothing. They closed the case. I think about the sounds, the nights he must have spent listening, and I think about those handprints. They weren't just reaching, as if something had been lying there, watching the hatch, waiting for it to open, waiting for someone to pull the cord. We bought the baby monitor before Arian was born. It felt like one of those responsible decisions you're supposed to make. Preparation, control, the illusion that if you plan enough, you can keep everything safe. Camera in the nursery, receiver on the nightstand, night vision, motion alerts. For 4 months it worked perfectly. No glitches, no static, no false alarms. We trusted it, that's important. Then my wife left to visit her mother for a week. It was the first time I was alone with Arian overnight, completely alone. I checked everything that evening. Crib bars secure, windows locked, under the crib clear. I even checked the camera angle, centered perfectly. Arian in the middle of the frame, blankets tucked low, tiny chest rising and falling. Perfect. I sat on the couch after putting him to sleep. Monitor in my hand. Every few minutes I checked it. The small screen glowed in the dark. At 11 p.m. I went to bed, placed the receiver beside me. Volume up, screen dimmed. I don't remember falling asleep, but I remember waking up. 2:17 a.m. The sound woke me, just present. The monitor had activated, that soft electronic click, the faint glow of the screen brightening. I grabbed it immediately, looked down. Video feed, Arian, asleep, unmoved. But the audio was live, and through the speaker, I heard it. Breathing, slow, measured, deliberate. Not Arian. I knew that instantly. This was controlled, steady, adult, close to the microphone. I was already moving, out of bed, across the hallway. I didn't turn on the lights immediately. I pushed the door open. Dark, still. Then I hit the switch. Light flooded the room. Everything looked normal. Crib, mobile, wardrobe, Arian still asleep. I stepped inside, slowly, listening. The breathing stopped, just like that. Gone. Then I saw the camera, mounted on the shelf, and the angle. It was wrong. Not drastically, just slightly, but I knew. Centered, exact. Now it was angled left. Someone had touched it. I felt something drop in my chest, because that meant someone had been standing there, close enough to reach the crib. I picked Arian up immediately. I held him against my chest and I didn't put him down. Not for the rest of the night. I checked everything. Morning didn't make it better. I called the manufacturer. The support agent was calm. Cameras can't move on their own, they said. Fixed mount. Then they asked me, did you change the default access code? I didn't answer immediately. No, I said. The default codes are publicly available, they said. Anyone, anywhere, watching. But that didn't explain the camera, because cameras don't move, which meant someone had been there. I reviewed the footage, hands shaking. The hour before the audio triggered, normal. Then the feed changed. No transition, just a different angle. We called the police. They checked the apartment. No signs of intrusion. Just a moved camera, a recorded breath. We moved 3 weeks later. New apartment, new locks, new monitor, no cloud access, safe, controlled, closed. For 3 nights, nothing happened. On the 4th night, I was checking the monitor, routine, habit. Then the audio activated, soft click, and then breathing. Slow, steady, patient. Not from across the room, it sounded like it was right next to the microphone. And then a whisper, my voice, repeating something I had just said, standing in the hallway. Not from a recording, from now, from just outside the room, echoed from inside it.